What is a true fact so baffling, it should be false? The record for most children born to one mother is 69. To the wife of Fyodor Vasilyev, B 1707 C 1782, a peasant from Shua, Russia. In 27 labors, she gave birth to 16 pairs of twins, 7 sets of triplets and 4 sets of quadruplets. Not sure what's more impressive, having that many children, or considering it's the 1700s, living through it. My husband read this for the first time yesterday. His reaction was, dude, get off of her already. It's a uterus, not a clown car. If sound could travel through space, the roar of the sun would be deafening even though it's 93 miles away. That shit makes sound? Yup. The sun is 290 decibels. If space could carry sound, it would still be 125 dB by the time it got to Earth. It'd be like a jackhammer everywhere all the time. Of course, if that happened, we'd probably evolve to be deaf in that audio spectrum so we wouldn't notice. How often does the sun roar like that? So often you'll barely notice. People were deliberately infected with malaria to cure their syphilis, and the man who developed this treatment, Julius Wagner Jauregg, received the Nobel Prize for it. The extremely high fevers of the malaria infections killed the syphilis bacteria, then the patients were cured of the malaria using quinine. I used the stones to destroy the stones. Saddam Hussein was an erotic romance novelist in his spare time as the dictator of Iraq. He also had a Quran bound in human flesh, which is apparently a big no-no in Islam. And just about anywhere else. It wasn't a Quran bound in human flesh, it was a Quran written in his own blood. He hired a calligrapher to write it over the span of 2 years using vials of his blood. It was bound in goat leather. Oh good, I thought it was weird for a second there. The longest time between 2 twins being born is 87 days. I see these threads a bunch, but this answer has me interested. Gonna look up the source on that one. Kilkenny, Ireland, gave birth to twins Amy Ann and Kate Marie, Katie, Elliot 87 days apart, making them the twins with the longest interval between their births. The twins were born at Waterford Regional Hospital. Amy was born prematurely on the 1st of June 2012 and Kate followed on the 27th of August. Guinness World Records. From 1613 and 1620 a samurai traveled to Rome by way of Mexico. During this time, Shakespeare was still alive, Virginia had been founded for around a decade, Galileo was accused of heresy, and Pocahontas arrived in England. He met the Pope. He was made a Roman citizen. His name was Hasekura Tsuneniga, and was the last Japanese person to officially visit Europe until around 1860. Another fun samurai fact, Oda Nobunaga had a black man as an official samurai. This was in 1581. Where exactly the man was from, Mozambique is most historians guess, and what his name was weren't recorded, but the Japanese gave him the nickname Yasuke. He'd come over to Japan on a Portuguese missionary boat. By all accounts he and Nobunaga got along great and he fought in several major battles of Japan's warring states period. Sadly, after Nobunaga's death, Akechi Mitsuhide declared Yasuke to be not a man but an animal and had him sent to a nearby Christian church that had been established by missionaries. There is no record of what happened to him after that. Man, Akechi is a fucking asshole. You can boil water in a paper cup over an open flame. One day Mao Zedong saw a sparrow eating grain. Thinking that the sparrows were hurting China's grain supply, he and the Communist Party launched the For Pests campaign. The Chinese military and population killed every sparrow they could find. Embassies didn't allow the Chinese to kill sparrows on their property, so the Chinese banged pots and pans outside the embassies 24/7 until the sparrows died of exhaustion. Unfortunately for the Chinese, sparrows mainly eat insects, not grain. The locust population exploded and 43 million people starved to death. This reminds me of that guy who killed elephants to stop the desertification of the savannah, only to have the desert spread faster. I just heard his TED talk. He didn't poach elephants, but he did convince the governments to kill them. He now advocates for herds of animals moved randomly around the grasslands to increase their biomass and in turn reverse desertification. He says that the elephant thing is his biggest regret in life and it still haunts him to this day. Haunted by ghost elephants does not sound fun. The hardest part is not talking about them. Cheetahs can't roar, but they can meow like house cats. Whoa, is this legit? Googling now. Edit, this has been the cutest part of my day. Cute, then scary. Whale reproduction involves 3 whales. To do the nasty and 1 to keep them from sinking. Talk about third wheeling. Third whaling. There were more planes destroyed in World War II than there are currently intact planes on Earth today. I mean, everyone was making a shit ton of planes. A shit ton of shitty planes. Commercial airliners nowadays are pretty sickened in terms of military planes. The dominant air force in the world is taking a quality over quantity approach, despite also having quite a few, but yeah. Edit. What I meant by shitty was vastly simpler designs that were more conducive to more quantitative production, because World War II in a lot of facets was a numbers game. Like they did the same thing with tanks. It didn't make sense to pour too much money into any given piece of hardware because it was just going to get blown up, since the technology didn't exist to prevent that in any way. These days, they can do that with planes at least, because it's kind of hard to hit something that's literally going as fast as a bullet. Gotten a lot of responses about how World War II planes weren't actually shitty, and I agree. I was just using coarse language. The dominant air force in the world is taking a quality over quantity approach, despite also having quite a few, but yeah. The largest air force in the world by number of planes is the US Air Force. The second largest is the US Navy. To chains, but I got me a few on. Stalin, Hitler, and Freud all lived in Vienna at the same time. Imagine a sitcom with them all as roommates. Damn it, Stalin, stop eating my food, it is our food, Freud. I will stop eating it when you stop banging your mother. Will you to Untermenschen kindly shut the fuck up? I'm trying to paint. I can't fuck this up. This is my last chance to get into the academy. Top 10 anime tragedies. More people died making the Vita rockets during World War II than were killed by them. Another fun fact about Vita rockets. Germany was facing a large issue with rocket fuel shortages during the project because people kept drinking it. The fuel was made from 70% ethyl alcohol and 30% water, distilled from potatoes. It was the most economically viable fuel at the time, since they were already very low on other fuels. To stop workers from drinking it, they denatured the alcohol, essentially poisoning it, but people kept drinking it anyways and getting extremely ill. This simply caused people to start leaving the Vita program, suggesting that they were only in it for the free alcohol. This also means that any alcohol over 70% ABV is stronger than actual World War II rocket fuel. We live many times closer to the last dinosaur than the first and last dinosaur did to each other. And Cleopatra lived closer to the first man on the moon than to the time the pyramids were built. A 500-pound cigarette smoking, beer drinking brown bear named Wojtek was enlisted in and served in the Polish army during World War II. Private Wojtek helped the Polish win the brutal Battle of Monte Cassino, and was even promoted to corporal. Following the war, he retired in Scotland. Amazing share. I will name my firstborn son Wojtek. Wojtek is a totally normal Polish name, so Polish people will just assume he's Polish. And beer drinking brown bears will assume he's a bear. To scale, the distance between a nucleus and orbiting electron is 16 times longer than the distance between the Sun and Pluto. Giraffe seat bones. Of all the possible giraffe facts to go with, you don't go with the fact that giraffe liver and bone marrow might be a hallucinogen? No, the coolest giraffe fact is that their tongue nerve goes from their brain to their chest and then back up their throat to their tongue. Just like all mammals, just in a giraffe that means it's going like 20 feet and causes actual tongue lag that they can choke and die from. Cool and proof of evolution. When a woman with breast implants is cremated, the implants will melt into goo. It drips to the bottom of the furnace and needs to be cleaned up once cooled. Kim Kardashian going to just straight up melt into a puddle. She's had so much plastic surgery they're going to have to recycle her. Her latest tattoo is a toe inside a triangle. When Mt Everest was first measured, it was exactly 29,000 feet. It was reported as 29,002 because exactly 29,000 was not believable. Whoever decided that was the first man to put a foot on Everest. If every single person on the entire planet took part in a rock paper scissors contest, where everyone paired up and played, losers were knocked out and winners stayed on etc. You would only have to win 33 times in a row to beat all 7.53 billion people on the planet. Nintendo was founded in 1889. Before video games, Nintendo ran sex hotels in Japan. So they went from encouraging sex to keeping it away. If you're launching from Earth, the most difficult place to reach in the solar system is the sun. The reason for this is that to fly directly into the sun you need to first launch from Earth, and then remove all of your orbital velocity around the sun. Anything less will just put you into a different orbit around the sun rather than directly into it. The amount of power required for that to do it directly is basically impossible currently. As an alternative you could, for relatively little power, fly all the way out to Pluto distance, slow down much less, and then fall back into the sun. The trade-off being the travel time is now about 90 years. There are other in-between paths that could get you there for different balances of energy and time, but all of them are tougher than getting basically anywhere else in the solar system with an equivalent balance. There's a mission currently traveling to study the sun, the Parker Solar Probe. It won't be flying directly in, but plans to make the closest passes than any probe ever has. It's going to make 7 passes by Venus to shed speed so it can get closer and closer to the sun. The full flight time is planned as just less than 7 years. As of this post they are 1 week shy of a year in. Cornflakes were made with the intent to keep people from masturbating. And the dude who made them, yes, the Mr. Kellogg himself, is the reason that a majority of American men are circumcised even if they are not Jewish or Islamic. His goal with the circumcisions was the same: prevent masturbations. Edit. For those of you who don't know, he used his serial clout to convince people that he's a reputable authority figure on what is or is not sinful. He thought anything that was self-indulgent or too enjoyable was sinful, to the point of deliberately making bland cereal. I'm sure you can imagine his thoughts on masturbation, if he went to such lengths with fucking cereal. So in the early 1900s he told parents that they should circumcise their kids so that they won't masturbate and go to hell. He even tried to promote female genital mutilation, burning off of the clit with acid. And for generations after, parents are still doing it to their kids because of thinking my daddy was circumcised, I'm circumcised, why should my kid be any different? You're unconsensually mutilating your child's genitals because a cereal maker didn't want your grandparents to masturbate. Think independently, please. Don't just do it because everyone else is. The life of Frano Selleck, the luckiest and lucky man in the world. January 1960. Frano is riding on a train through a freezing canyon when it fell into an icy river. All 17 other passengers died while he escapes with a broken arm and hypothermia. 1963. On his first plane trip he was sucked out of the plane's door and landed in a haystack. Unscathed. 19 other people were killed in the crash. 1966. He was riding in a bus when it skidded off the road into yet another icy river. For passengers drowned while he only received some minor cuts and bruises. 1970. His car's engine burst into flames while he was driving, but he managed to escape before it exploded. 1973. In yet another driving incident, his car's engine was doused with hot oil from a broken fuel pump. This caused flames to shoot through the air vents, singing off all of his hair. He was otherwise unharmed. 1995. He was hit by a bus but only sustained minor injuries. 1996. To escape a head-on collision with a United Nations truck on a mountain curve, he swerved into a guardrail that broke on impact to save himself. He jumped out of his car's open door and grabbed onto a tree branch as he watched his car plummet off the cliff. Suffice to say the guy had a complicated relationship with the Grim Reaper. Switzerland has accidentally invaded Liechtenstein thrice in the last 50 years. On the first time in 1976, Swiss military got lost and ended up in Liechtenstein, so the Liechtensteiners offered them drinks like proper hosts. On the second time in 1992, Swiss military forgot that a certain observation post was actually not in Swiss territory but in Liechtenstein territory, so they just said sorry and forgot about it. Then again in 2007, the Swiss army got lost and entered Liechtenstein, but eventually realized they weren't in Switzerland anymore. Toto, so they turned back. Liechtenstein didn't even know this happened till the Swiss apologized, again, to which they basically said, no problem, bro. Takeaways, the Swiss army are bad with directions. The Liechtenstein army people are chill brothers. In 1000 BC a war was cancelled due to rain. I'll one-up you. Around the 500s BC, the Medes, modern-day Iran, fought the Lydians, modern-day Turkey, in a war. During the war, there was a motherfucking solar eclipse and everything went black. Both sides freaked out and came to a peace agreement. Both sides stopped fighting each other during the eclipse as they thought it was the gods telling them something. This has been known as the Battle of the Eclipse for centuries, but no one really believed there was an eclipse. Then, scientists recently were able to backtrack and find out when every single solar eclipse happened, and lo and behold it happened right around the date of the battle. So now it is viewed as a historical fact. Edit. Extra fun fact. According to Herodotus's history, a Greek mathematician successfully and accurately predicted the eclipse on the day of the battle. This means that in 583 BC ancient scholars could successfully predict the sun's rotation to a T. 1200 years later people still thought the world was flat somehow lol. Sucks the Roman Empire had to fall. There was this French guy named Terror in the late 1700s that could eat anything, in any amount. He was able to eat half a cow on one sitting and ate dinner for 15 for one meal when he was being tested. He was even able to swallow an entire eel, with bones included, without hesitating. When he went to the military service, they used him as message transport, but after being captured he went back and tried to find a cure. In the hospital where he was staying, he was suspected of eating a baby so they kicked him out. He was average weight and when he died a few years later they could see inside his stomach just by opening his mouth. Here's a video which explains it on better detail. Terror, look at me. Did you eat a fucking baby?